Good evening, this is TVP Info. Now we prepared for you our flash news program with newest events from all around the world. Karolina Pajączkowska, welcome. On behalf of member states of the European Union, Brussels has ordered 2,300,000,000 doses of vaccine under agreement with 6 pharmaceutical companies. So far, only 2 vaccines against the coronavirus, Pfizer and BioNTech and Moderna, have been authorized. But it is expected that also AstraZeneca product will join in later this month.
3 preparations against the coronavirus have already been approved in the United Kingdom, where more than 1.5 million people have been vaccinated. Today the vaccine was also administered to Queen Elizabeth II and her husband Prince Philip. The situation in London is dramatic. The mayor has declared a state of emergency due to overcrowded hospitals.
It's very difficult. Things are very intense. The patients are very poorlier than we've probably ever seen them, and in bigger numbers than we've ever had them.
In the Czech Republic, hospital capacity is at the verge of exhaustion. Military personnel and students of medical schools were summoned to work in the facilities. In Italy, the epidemic situation also remains difficult. In 15 regions, the authorities are delaying pupils' return to school. At the same time, the vaccination campaign is continuous. According to official data, over 500,000 people have been vaccinated. Italy comes first when it comes to the number of vaccinations in the European Union, followed by Germany, Spain and Poland.
And that's out of the question. The vaccination program is the most important right now. As we mentioned before, Poland is in the top, among others, at forefront when it comes to the efficiency of the vaccination campaign. According to the latest data, the preparation has already been administered to 200,000 Poles. And by the end of March, 3 million Polish citizens will have been vaccinated.
2 weeks have passed since the first delivery of the COVID vaccines to Poland. During this time, 200,000 people were vaccinated throughout the country. It's quite obvious there have been hardly any complications after the inoculation, as opposed to the COVID infection, which results actually in all levels of complications, including the worst. 2 weeks into the vaccination campaign in the European Union, Poland remains at the top in terms of efficiency. Data from Poland and the world confirm that the number of undesirable post-vaccination responses is indeed very low. In Poland, it's about 1 per mil. The Ministry of Health asserts that when the general population vaccination starts, every Pole will find a vaccination point close to where they live. Meanwhile, an audit has been concluded at the Warsaw Medical University, where unauthorized persons were vaccinated with the doses from the pool intended for medical personnel. The group includes at least 25 people from the world of politics, culture and the commercial media.
In Flash News, we look local, but we look global too. An air crash in Indonesia. A plane with 62 people on board crashed into the Java Sea just soon after takeoff. Most likely, there are no survivors. The rescue have discovered the first remains of the machine and some of the victims' personal belongings.
Despair, powerlessness, grief. Most likely, none of the passengers of the SJ-182 flight has survived. This man was waiting to meet his daughter. I came to pick up my daughter and now I will never see her again. There were 62 people on board, including 10 children and 3 infants. They showed us the passenger list. Unfortunately, our relatives were on that plane. The Boeing 737-500 crashed into the Java Sea soon after taking off from the capital city airport in Jakarta. It was en route to the city of Pontianak on the island of Borneo. The machine disappeared from the radar 4 minutes after takeoff. In just 1 minute, the machine lost altitude by 3 kilometers. We are checking if weather conditions might have contributed to the disaster. The machine fell into the sea 20 kilometers from the airport. Rescue helicopters and naval boats with search teams were dispatched. The remains of the machine and the personal belongings of the victims were quickly located. So far, none of the hypotheses as to the crash cause have been discounted.
And we are back to Europe. The Filomena blizzard has paralyzed Spain, literally. The biggest snowstorm in half of a century has killed at least 4 people. A red weather alert was issued in 5 regions. A special military unit of the Spanish army was deployed to help.
The airport in the Spanish capital has been closed and the high-speed train traffic suspended. Several hundred roads are impassable. The Madrid authorities have appealed to residents not to leave their homes without acute need. Due to the blizzard, the seaport in Valencia has been closed, as well as parks and gardens in Barcelona. The snowstorm is expected to last until Monday. Tragic news also from Russia. At least 3 people died after an avalanche descended on a ski resort near Norilsk. More than 250 people took part in the surge. It was carried out at a temperature of -22 degrees Celsius and lasted several hours. 2 other people were rescued from under the avalanche. The Japanese are still struggling with extreme snowfalls. In just one day, as much as 1.5 meters of white fluff fell in some regions of the country. The snowfall in the city of Toyama in central Japan has exceeded 1 meter for the first time in 35 years. The snow has caused numerous transport problems and electricity blackout in thousands of households.
Now, the popular social network Twitter has permanently suspended the account of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. The decision sparked great emotions and questions about freedom of speech in modern times.
Almost 90 million users followed Donald Trump's tweets on the popular social networking site. However, the company has decided that the outgoing President of the United States has no right to speak on the service. After a close review of the recent tweets from the @ArealDonaldTrump account and the contents around them, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence. The decision of the owners of the social media service has caused great controversy also among the users, who reminded that the accounts of Vladimir Putin and Nicolas Maduro have never been blocked. Until recently, practices such as those of the American internet giants were only used by heavily criticized communist China. The outgoing president has already announced that he may establish his own social platform.
And what a contest it was! Poles dominated the ski jumping competition in German TTZ Neustadt. Kamil Stoch won and Piotr Żyła came third. As many as 5 white and reds were among the first 11 winners. Congrats!
This year, the Polish ski jumpers are equal to none.
Leci wspaniale, leci pięknie I jest pierwszy!
4 competitions, 4 white and red wins. Today, for the 3rd time in a row, Kamil Stoch took the highest place on the podium.
Cieszę się tym, co jest.
I'm pleased with what happened. I'm happy with the victory today, as it did not come very easily to me. The jumps were not at all great. There were more difficulties and more fighting. The World Cup competition in TTZ Neustadt looked more like Polish national championship. Beautiful, very high, excellent. Kamil Stoch won a World Cup competition for the 39th time, which puts him on par with the legendary Adam Małysz.
Piotrek Żyła w powietrzu!
Piotr Żyła, next to Stoch, came third. 19 years ago, Adam Małysz won a record lead on this hill of almost 40 points over the second Martin Schmidt. 6 years later, he won both competitions, and in 2013,
Chyba tak! Przepięknie!
Kamil Stoch came first. Last year, Dawid Kubacki outclassed his rivals, winning both competitions.
To był skok po 7 z rzędu.
No one has stood on the podium here as often as the Polish jumpers.
9 stycznia, Kamil Stoch.
So as every time, we also give you a lot of curiosities from all around the globe. So we start right now from the north of Italy, Bolzano, where we have 2 dogs that are training in one of the facilities. A pair of dogs has been trained to sense people with affected coronavirus. Sounds really futuristic, right?
The training lasted 3 months. The fact that the animals have a nose for the sick was discovered when they sniffed out 5 infected persons from among 260 people, students and teachers. Tests confirmed they were right on the mark. The vaccine is intended to be a breakthrough in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, and as such it deserves recognition. A confectioner from Dortmund in Western Germany expressed it symbolically, inventing a cake called Goodbye Coronavirus. He gave it the form of a syringe. The medical device is rarely associated with pleasure, but its version with icing is in high demand. Many problems can be resolved if you act in unison. In Lansdowne, Tasmania, there is a garage serving specifically those people who can't otherwise afford their own wheels. It is a garage for cars whose owners no longer want to invest in repairs. And the workshop's mechanics are true masters of their craft, who can even breathe new life into utter junk and then give it away for a symbolic fee. Long neck, long legs and a height of about 5 to 6 meters. This is what a giraffe is expected to look like. Scientists working in Uganda have noticed a much shorter representative of this species in the Murchison Falls National Park. It has short, stocky legs and a shorter neck. Several years ago, a similar case was discovered in Namibia. Scientists now have a mystery to solve, whether dwarf giraffes are mere exceptions or rather the beginning of the generation of the species.
Well, not always bigger is better, but I'm sure that we will see tomorrow with even more information from all around the globe with Flash News. So stay tuned for more info on tvp.info. Goodbye.